Hey guys, welcome back to The Community, the podcast devoted to home service businesses and those who desire to make an impact while making some cheddar. Hey, each week you're going to hear real stories from real people who decided to do it their way and start a deadgum business.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, cheddar is like some cheese.
Yeah, cheddar's some dough.
What do you know about some
cheddar.
Government cheese? That's what I'm talking about.
Not much. I did almost sell my plasma one time now.
That's awesome.
There, son. I might have to go visit that if this March doesn't hurry up and get here.
Speaking of plasma, I went to Duke University. They did you can sell your body to Duke.
Yes, you can sell your body to lots of places.
And they did all kinds of testing. And you think it's like, hey, we're going to give you $1,000 for like 2 hours
to pump you full of like
have to do to me. Whatever. You know, your body regenerates plasma, so you got an unlimited supply of money.
They didn't mention about the amount of taxes they were going to take out on it. So I ended up getting like $400 of tax. I was like, this was not.
You got a third arm now, like just coming out of your back.
Hey, so don't give plasma. Don't donate your body to the local university. Sign up for our newest webinar on how to start and scale your pressure washing business. So if you're looking to grow, we want to just go ahead and invite you to check that out. You'll have about 30, 45 minutes of a conversation. We go through 16 steps. I basically share with you point by point on how to start a business. It's our blueprint outside of just the personal coaching that goes along with it. But today we have got an absolute interesting Viking-ish.
I mean, this dude is beautiful. I'm just going to say it. He's beautiful. Like when you look at him, you're like, golly,
that's a beautiful
beard
man.
envy right there, man.
Yeah.
Hey, I heard he's got his doctorate in big ideas.
You guys should be hanging out.
Got some credit. I need to find out what university he went to. I'd like to be approved for the same thing.
All right, we're going to test him today. We're going to ask him his top 5 big ideas that he's earned his doctorate.
Oh, I love it.
And then that way we can do a little bit of credential checking on him today. But without any further ado, why don't we go ahead and bring Brant onto the show?
Brant.
Hey, guys. How's it going?
Get that beard, man.
Man, thank you. I try.
Hey, you've got some explaining to do with your credentials and your doctorate. But before we get into that, we start off the show by asking a very difficult, but it's always the very same question each week. And so the first question we have for you is, who is Brant?
Well, Brant is me, man. I don't know. I'm just a simple dude here from Utah. Just love what I do. Just love being in business. Love helping other people. Love providing jobs for businesses. Providing jobs for people around here, and being there a good employer to people. And got a family, 2 little kids. They keep us very, very busy. Wife starting an ice cream shop, so that's pretty busy as well. So
that's cool.
We're living the dream, and I mean that's Brant. I don't know, just love to just chill and be with my friends and family, and like I said, simple kind of dude.
I love it, Brant. Here on this show, we really like to hear real stories from people who like to make an impact while making an income. And I do want to touch on something here, that you've got a doctorate in big ideas. You majored in barbecuing and minored in growing his beard. So you've got this thing set up. Why don't you share with us some of the stories about these big ideas?
You know what? My favorite quote is, it's the beauty the world belongs to those who believe in the beauty of their dreams. And I totally believe that. I think, when I started Jill's office, I was actually working for a call center, and, the call center I was working for, we were doing loans for construction owners and construction business owners and just different things like that. And I was just like, man, these guys need help. And so my dad had just sold his software business, and I approached him and said, hey, Dad, let's start this call center, because sometimes people, suck at answering their phones or things like this. And my whole family's in the construction business, so I can say that with confidence about them, not anyone else. But, we just basically, he's like, let's do it. So, just had that small little thought in the back of my mind, and, spent a lot of time just putting it together, writing business plans, and, now we're here today, and, just started from a dream. So I do believe that.
You've got a tagline that says fire your wife and hire Jill's office. What does she think about that?
Hey, I'm sorry, guys. This is my wife's calling. 1 second. Hello? Yeah. Have you sent those invoices yet? You haven't? All right. I'll do it when I get home.
It's over.
Sorry, guys. That was my wife. She, we got to work together.
So what does your wife think about getting fired?
Well, I think she fires me more of the time than me firing her. But, no, I mean, in all reality, like a lot of times when we want to start a job or start a company, it's going to be a family affair. But what kind of toll does that put on the family? We have 2 little kids, and the amount of time that she has to spend is just like, my goal is how can I give her the freedom to spend time with the kids, to do the things that she wants to do based upon what I wanted to start, And so I totally believe in being able to fire your wife so she can do what she wants to do, like starting an ice cream shop. So, let her follow her dreams and do the things that she wants to do.
No, that's so good. When you share this, I wonder how many guys are going to be listening to this episode, and they're like, they've asked their wives and their children, and they're not paying them, but they're helping out with marketing, with social, with grabbing estimates and invoices, and it's like it's cheap labor, but it costs you in the long run a marriage and a relationship. And so what your company basically does is, just would you mind sharing with us what your company does?
Yeah. So at Jill's office, so we answer phones, schedule appointments, help with outbound calls, and, help with website chats and other related admin tasks, so that we can take that off of your plate, so that you can do what you wanted to do, the reason why you started a business, and we can worry about all the other things that can be very time consuming and heavy task oriented. So you can be making the money, or the cheddar, as you say.
Get that cheddar cheese.
So I'm going to share with you one of my biggest challenges with hiring or outsourcing a agency to grab our phones. And so I'm just going to ask you 2 or 3 questions. The first one would be what I'm afraid of is VAs grabbing the phones and then not knowing how to have a conversation with our clients that might live in my city, in my area. What solve do you have for that?
Great question. I mean, I'll be completely honest. And if anyone tells you different, I'll beg to differ. No one will answer the phone better than you, because you know your product 100% more than I ever will. But the reality is it's you. And what can you do? And if you want to grow, then how can you learn to delegate, right? The thing is, the art of a phone call and the art of being able to talk to someone, a lot of times we feel like it has to be done in such a certain way, and it has to be talked about like, oh, I know, Miss Jane down the street, I come to her house all the time. Like, that's awesome, right? That's like I said, that better than anyone else, because your customers. But at the same time, when we're sitting there and we're having discussion with a customer, if someone calls in to get a quote, we can still be personable, but not have to necessarily know the area. There's a lot that you can train and teach on a phone. Just to have general conversations, that is great. And I honestly say, we do sometimes better than sometimes the business owner, because sometimes they go into so much detail that they oversell themselves, when an 8-minute phone call can have done the same thing than a 30-minute phone call. So it's about learning how to delegate and kind of give up. Again, it's a big portion of what you have to give up, because it's giving, like, you started this from scratch, most people, and especially in the pressure washing industry, so you're giving a piece of your heart away almost. But it's also having that trust that it, like, what can actually happen if, when you're actually with the customer and someone calls in and you have to say, hey, hold on, I got to answer this phone. How does that make them feel? Your customers are being handled because you're there doing the work and doing an awesome job.
When I first started my own pressure washing business, I did not know what soft washing was, nor did I know marketing, sales, or even how to manage my finances.
Take the guesswork out of it. We have taken all of the knowledge we've gotten and wrapped it into video courses. It's a 7-figure blueprint for a pressure washing company that you can get at pressurewashingpastor.com. Go there, scroll down to video courses, and purchase it. We guarantee you'll get the value or your money back.
So go ahead and click pause, head over to the website. Now, unclick pause and back to your show.
We met with some great fellers from Georgia that came up, and I feel like they're in the beginning stages when you start the company. Phones and office tasks, typically speaking from pressure washing, is like one of the first things that you want to try to get away from. And so we were chatting with them. He had the same experience that he shared as you just did, being with clients. Oh my gosh, got to answer this phone, so on and so forth. What do you tell those guys of like, hey, here's how we're going to make the pain easier? And how do they equate the numbers in their mind from what they would pay someone in their local community to do that in relation to what you would be charging? How does that break down, and how do you make it easy for them to understand?
Yeah, great question. So, I mean, in reality, we want people to hire, people, in their hometowns. I think that's great. If you can, that's great. We want you to do that, because you're giving a job to someone in the community. But the reality is, like, let's just say you're paying someone, hey, answer my phone. I'm gonna give you the phone, just answer it when it rings. You don't have to sit at a desk or something like that. Cause I've seen that a lot recently as well. But then they're at a store or they're with their kids or that, like, it's hard to have that professional environment. And then it's just like, well, how do I pay them? How, is it 9 to 5? What happens at 8 o'clock when the phone rings and other things like that? Where at a company like mine, where let's say, for example, you do hire them, and they're at a store and they're doing other things for you, like, we could be a backup where, if it comes to them and they're like, hey, this is not the right situation, it can come to us, we can answer, we're 24/7. Or is this someone like us fully, we're staffed 24/7. I say, as long as we can answer 80% of your questions, we're doing a good job. And the thing is nowadays, especially, people are just shocked you're answering the phone. Like, I mean, before we went to a conference recently, and I wanted to share some details about this conference. So we called 100 window cleaners across the country. We just went through, Googled, found 100. We called around, and only, I believe, 18% answered. Wow. So, I mean, if you're having someone answer the phone, like, you are at that point 82% better than your competitor. So, wow.
Did you call it like 5 a.m.?
No. And of that 18%, only 5% called us back.
Wow. Oh my goodness. Hey, that right there, for people listening, is a business separator.
Right.
You take what he just said and understand that your competition is likely overwhelmed with phone calls they're missing anyways. They're filled to the brim. If you just return those calls, it's a business separator. You're likely going to win. Question for you, Brant, because I just don't understand how it works. Two questions. Do you have a relationship with the person that is answering your phones, or is it totally just out of your hands? And what does the cost look like? Is this a monthly subscription? Is there a tier basis?
Yeah, great question. So at Jill's office, we do something, every company is different. But one thing that we really do pride ourselves on is that you do have someone you can call and text during the day to talk about your calls. And so we have an account manager who's over your account. Now, we have what's called pods here. So there's a group of between 8 to 10 people answering their phones. So you don't necessarily speak to them directly, but you talk to your account manager, who sets up the scripts and does everything. And then that goes to a script specialist. Then that goes through an auditor, and then all these other things. So we have a whole back end that kind of goes through a lot of that. But then you only have one person to talk to who can help.
Man, I love that. That's such cool. A good idea, because the cookie cutter, like the perfect experience, is what you really want your customers to experience, and having that script. I'm assuming you guys help with the script creation, right?
Yeah, we do. Yeah. Well, at the same time, yes and no, right? We basically help you and give you the right questions to ask.
Sure.
And that's what you're answering, based upon there, because of what we've seen. We answer for a lot of pressure washers.
So let's go ahead and get into the pricing structure that you offer inside of your business, whether it's for 1 hour, if it's per call, if it is, just walk me through what pricing options you have.
Yeah. So it's a per minute charge, and so we break it down by 15 seconds, so it's a per minute charge that we're on the phone. And then basically, we don't charge for any calls less than 25 seconds. So if we know we're on with the automated telemarketing and stuff like that, we don't charge for those. And then we stop charging after 15 minutes. So let's say we get on with someone who just wants to talk, we do stop charging.
That just makes so much sense. I was thinking of a monthly subscription, but you're talking to guys who are making that initial transition to hiring their first office person, probably can't afford a 40-hour week person hoping they get 20 calls in the month.
Yeah.
Is this as simple as I can turn it off and on from an app on my phone, as far as like if I have normal office hours or if I'm able to grab one? Are you able to just grab when I'm unable or whenever I don't want to grab a phone?
Yeah, great question. So if people who just have a cell phone, there's something called conditional call forwarding. So if the call comes to you and you're able to answer, you can answer. But then if you don't answer, it then can transfer over to, because we give you a phone number, that phone number just comes to us. We do have an app, but you can't turn it on and off because the forwarding is all controlled by you. So we can't, you have access to your phone number and control of your phone number. So if you have something like Ring Central or something like that, you can actually set times or how many rings it wants to ring to you before it rings to us. So we have a lot of people who we're just taking after hours and weekends when their admin's there, or we're even overflow when they go on lunch or they go on vacation. So they don't have to worry about that.
Let me just I'm just going to go ahead and add value and say, hey, if you're watching this, the very first thing you need to replace is your phones. And so my encouragement would find a friend, not your wife, find someone in your community. But if you don't have a solve for that, this is one of those no-brainer. Your time as a salesman or a tech has way more value than grabbing your telephones. And so make sure you check out Jill's office and follow up with with this opportunity, because it is kind of a no-brainer. Now, would you remind me?
Can I add to that real quick, though? And I say this because there's a lot of pressure washers in this same situation. And I use a really big word for it because it's kind of scary. It's time to divorce your phone number. And the reason why I say that is a lot of people use their personal phone number for their business.
Oh, that's good.
But you got to divorce your number and you have to have them separated. And I use a big, strong word like divorce because it's a hard thing. But it's probably one of the greatest things that you need to do. And if you're already using your personal phone number for marketing, then you get a new personal phone number and let your friends know, because it's time to separate. Even if it's day one, find another phone number, because you need to learn, like literally you're going to be on all the time. Someone's going to call you 24/7, right? They're going to call you at 3 a.m. Believe me, we get 3 a.m. power wash phone calls here at Jill's office, and you have to be able to turn yourself off as a business owner and turn yourself on as a husband or father or friend or whatever. So
Solid.
do that.
Divorce your phone number so your wife doesn't divorce you. There you go. Yeah, that's your new slogan.
And this is a no-brainer. So like I couldn't agree with you more as far as setting up a faith family fitness, managing your time instead of your time managing you. Walk me through the price structure again. I'm trying to understand like what it would look like in our business or a business that might be, doing 150 to 200,000. I'm trying to understand maybe how much money I would be spending per year having someone else grab the phones.
Great question. I will say that we are a more expensive service than other services out there, but we are 99.95% US based, and we pay US based wages. So we're more expensive because we do those things and we provide benefits for all of our employees, and it's expensive. So I will say that right off the bat. So on average, there are some cheaper services out there. But for us specifically, you're right around, $400 to $600 a month, for our service. If you're just starting out kind of, in that range, we're just doing backup. Most people, if we're kind of taking more just on your average call volume, they're about $800 a month.
And all right, so I want to break down these numbers for a second. So if you grabbed 30 phones a week, and let's say that's off hours, so let's say we grab phones from 8 to 5, and you grabbed everything else, and it averaged about 30 a week during peak season, let's say 10 months out of the year. So 300, let's say 300, I don't know what the sound is, but 300.
He's writing some stuff down.
Yeah, I'm doing the calculation for you. So.
Yeah, help me understand what I'm saying, because it sounds like it'd be a lot cheaper than me hiring somebody and then training and so forth. And so I want to kind of to understand those numbers. And then also take into account how long the average call. I mean, I'm sure a minute and a half to 2 minutes would be your average or something.
So it depends on what we're doing, right? So that's what's hard about sometimes giving out numbers, is because there's so many different things that business owners want us to do. If we're just filling out a form, if we're going into, like, for example, like ResponsiBid, and we're filling out all of that and we're actually giving out pricing, like we're talking about more of an 8 to 9 to 10 minute phone call. But on average, if it's just taking information, other things like that, we're about 3 minutes. We don't like to rush people off the phones, but we also manage the phones so we're not on the phones more than we need to. Some people is like, no, you got to be, no, get them off the phone. It's just like, at the same time, you want us to provide customer service. So I always say that. But an average about 30 a week, you would probably be around the $800 a month. Again, it could be less based upon what we're doing, but I'm also giving you a higher estimate based upon that. So it's just kind of what we're looking for. So don't
quote you on your quote, Roger.
But
I don't know if you
get that. Even if you raised a little bit more, I mean,
sure.
It's like, good grief, that's a no-brainer.
I don't know if you guys are like me, but if I call a business and they don't answer, I'm going right to the next business. Right below them, I'm calling until someone picks up. Yeah. And if it's reasonable, I'm buying. I'm not shopping too much.
One job can pay for that entire month.
Yep,
for sure.
Literally, yeah.
The information alone on 30 people is worth something.
All right, so your VAs are U.S. based. I love that. So does that mean they kind of understand, like, the language in which we speak?
Yeah. So like I said, we do have, so we have 150 employees, right? So, and of those, I think 110 are the answering. And of those, we do have 3 people in the Philippines, but they do more than just phone calls, and they're just really on the complete backup and help more with just other admin tasks for us. And they have taken calls, and we do tell people that, and they can be in 100% US based, but they speak great English. But I mean, that's our product, right? So, but yeah, they all, they're all based out of Utah, all, work out of our location here. They do that work here at home.
I bet y'all have epic barbecues.
Oh, we do.
Yeah, he majored in that, actually.
That's right. Hey, yeah, in fact, I'm doing
that's right.
3 days a week in 2 weeks, and I'm doing I cure and make my own bacon, and we're doing bacon grilled cheese. So
I'm gonna send you my address. You ship some down to me.
Hey, there's a new book called Unreasonable Hospitality. Have y'all heard this book now? It's a phenomenal book. Yeah, in fact, Don Miller said it was his top 5.
That is a glowing endorsement.
Yeah, in the last 5 years, it's his #1 book that he's read.
Wow.
Yeah, Unreasonable Hospitality. And it's talking about just going above and beyond what the normal expectation in life. Mm-hmm. I'm just saying, if you send us some bacon, we might send
I don't know. You guys are some good. There's good meat down there, because you guys are in around Nashville, aren't you?
Oh yeah, there's some good meat. Don't get me wrong. There's some good hot chicken.
If you didn't know by now, we have created the #1 video courses on starting and scaling a pressure washing company on the market.
That's right. But head knowledge will only take you so far. You need the hands-on experience.
So what we crafted for you guys is an Experience Nashville 3-day boot camp. 2 days in the field, learning everything as it relates to pressure and soft washing and how the systems work, and 1 full day of breakout sessions with Joshua and myself. Visit pressurewashingpastor.com. Scroll down till you see a link to my calendar. We will grab a call together and figure out how to get you here to Nashville.
And then we will see you in Nashville.
Back to the show.
How many clients do you have inside of Jill's office right now in your log of people?
Yeah, so we're about 1,000 plus businesses we support.
Wow, man. Congratulations.
Awesome. Good
that
job.
Is absolutely excellent. Congrats, man.
That's kind of big brain.
That's
That's a big idea,
genius.
kind of
Yeah,
right
it's one
there.
of those big ideas. I'd love to hear one of those big ideas that cost you a little extra in life education tuition, because I don't have any of those. I haven't learned, but
I learned a lot from this business and life education businesses.
That's so true.
Yeah.
Brant, you might have already mentioned this, but when did you start Jill's office?
So we're in our 9th year of business.
Oh man, congratulations.
That's awesome.
That is so excellent.
Hey, I feel like this is, if you're looking, I mean, you're one of my favorite guests that I've had on the show as far as like the value that your company is offering. We've had some phenomenal folks on it, but man, when I just hear the numbers and think through it from a business that wants to scale and replace yourself, like this is a slam dunk of a conversation. But I want to transition because business is part of our show, but mission of why we do what we do is maybe a bigger part of the show. And so one thing that we like to ask is, do you have any transformational stories where your life was at one spot and then something happened where you ended up pursuing a greater why or a greater reason to wake up every day?
Yeah, great question. So as a business owners, when we start this, we always assume, and you hear this from a lot of different people, I'm starting this business, work 40 hours, or I'm going to put in 40 hours of work, but I'm really working 80, and you just really wanted to find your freedom. And I just remember for the longest time, doing that same thing. When I participate a lot with my church and other things. And so I had a lot of, with our church, we have a lot of, I work a lot with the youth and other things like that. So I was doing work and I was working with the youth and had a lot of different things. And then, I felt really good about what I was doing, but, when it came down to it, I had my little kid at home at this time, and he said, "Daddy, are you ever going to come home and see me?" And it was a big blow. And I'm like, "Man, I'm doing all this for you." And I remember saying that a lot to my wife and to, my kids, cause we travel a lot and just other things like that. And, doing all these other things until I finally realized, that I was doing more harm than good, even though I was doing good for the business. And then I finally trusted my team to do what I've asked them to do instead of me having to do it. So I could come home. I could see my kids. I could see my family, finally realize that I could really do the business owner lifestyle of what we think it is. Because number one, I've trusted my team. I, put trust into, just knowing that they could do their job. And I think that was really important for me to realize that when you hire someone, when you have people come in your life and, they're doing a good job, even though you're the business owner and you can do a really good job at it, delegate, they can do it. So you can be the business owner and the husband or father, the friend who you need to be.
So good. It's incredible.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that.
I've heard it put like this before. The only people who remember you answered emails on the weekend are your kids.
Yep.
That
true.
really does put that whole thing into perspective.
That's good.
That fades pretty quickly.
Yeah, I think this is a good point for us to maybe just try to challenge our listeners to, evaluate, and if you have kids, ask them, what does Daddy care about, or what are my interests, or maybe even chat with your wife and say, hey, are there some areas in my life that might need to be examined? And it's hard when your mind is always on and you're excited and growing, but you forget that what does it profit a man if he gains the whole world but yet loses his soul? And I can't think of anything more valuable than our faith and our family inside of this life. And so I appreciate you sharing that.
Yeah.
It's interesting. The problem that you're solving is not just answering phones. You're really solving a family problem as well. I mean, you're buying these business owners, these solopreneurs, their weekends back, their evenings back. Like that, I'm getting chills. I'm like, let's go. Like, I want my weekends back. Like, someone answer my phone,
good. That's so good.
And so, I mean, that's it. That's what you're selling, more than just a phone service. You're selling back that piece that, okay, if I don't answer my phone, it's not a lost job or opportunity. We've still got it.
Yep.
It's good.
100%.
Let me ask you this. We don't use responsive bid. I'm going back to business. I'm sorry. We were on the mission side of it.
Let's keep going.
But on average, have you looked at what kind of close ratings of the estimates that you guys write up or the schedule? Is there any analytics on any difference between the ones that you write up and then the one that the company writes up? Because I'm thinking like this. Are we able to do a better job than you as it relates to us being able to get a job on the schedule versus your ability to get a job on the schedule? And then the process, if it's in-person estimates, the closing rate is not affected at all. Have you ever dove into those numbers?
We have. And you know what, again, that's a hard number. And the reason why I say that is because every business owner wants things done differently. I wish I could throw up and just say, this is step 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, but every business owner they want 1, 5, 4, 3, 5 again, then, but this is what I'll say. A lot of times when business owners, they get up there and they're on the phone and like they're selling, they're talking about, I've got my ionized pressure washer and I got all these other things. So you're going to go into technical details of everything that you do because you understand the value of what that brings.
Yeah.
But the reality of it is the person you're talking to, that went over their head. They don't really care. They just want to know is the job going to get done.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you're sitting there, and a lot of times when we kind of track these things, we find that we have sometimes better close rates of the business owners because we just know how to talk to them and to say, hey, we can come out, we can do these things. We come out, we can pressure wash your driveway. This is the price. We can come out in this day. Can we get, can we do it? They're like, yeah, let's do it. So at that time, depending on what kind of information that we give, we actually book more than the owner because sometimes they oversell it to the point where people just feel like, oh my gosh, like this is going to cost. The more and more you talk about it, the more and more they feel like that they're going to get charged so much more. Right. Just and there's great benefits and values to talk about, and we can talk about some of those that are listed. But we do have good success with them. So like kind of talking about responsible, good, better, best situations, we do very well with those because you're able to talk about each package. You have your anchor pricing and other things like that kind of go and flow from there. And a lot of people are just like, hey, I don't want you to talk about pricing. I don't want you to, screw up anything. That's fine. We can be whatever you want us to be.
Yeah.
And some people are like, no, you guys don't sell as good as I, so you guys aren't closing as much as I would hope. And you know what? It's because sometimes things can be complicated processes. And everyone has their own way of knowing and doing things, and that's okay. So, we do what we can to help everyone. And, I will say though, for example, like for going back to responsive bid, like one of the things that we do a lot for a lot of responsive customers is following up on those bids because they have an automated follow-up thing. And that's where we're killing it for a lot of customers just because number one, we're just following up and we're able to go off the bid. And that's where we close lots of responsive bid jobs is on the follow-up. Yeah.
Now, when somebody hires you guys on, do they get one person, or is it multiple people who would be answering their phones, or is it one person where they can almost build a small relationship where they feel kind of like a team member?
Yeah, so a group of 8 to 10 people answer your phones during the day.
Oh, very cool.
So the more calls we get, the better we're going to be at answering the phones and other things like that. We're human. This is a human-based business. We're not a product. We're not robots. So, and I say, hey, we're not perfect, nor will we ever be perfect because we're human. And people who are like, I expect you to be perfect. I'm sorry. This is in my heart. I can't tell you that because I'm not the one answering the phone, and we're human. But the more we answer your phone, the better we're going to get. And so there is some pickups usually the first little bit for the first month or two as we trying to get used to answering the phone, just like how the person you hire is going to have the same hiccups. But the more and more we answer the phone, the more and more those same people will know how to continue to handle different things, handle different situations, and they get better. I mean, there's people we're answering for years, and I can walk out there and I can say, hey, tell me something about this company, and they can rattle off everything about that company, probably even sometimes better than the business owner, because of how many calls they've taken over the past years for that company.
We're going to be, thank you for sharing that. We've got a couple of more questions for you. And I feel like, there's been so much value on this show that we just need to give people a call to action to schedule you up and get in touch with you. But I wanted to find out a little bit about, because what I heard you just say is you're better than the business owner. You need to fire yourself from your phone, divorce it, and we're going to end up helping you close and sell more jobs as a result, is what I heard you say. When it comes to integrating your faith inside of your business, is there anything that you do inside of your company that kind of is a tool of, it's a business separator for the way that you treat your team? Or is there any intentional leadership development or discipleship or anything that you do inside the company that kind of puts Christ in the center or faith into the center of your business?
Yeah. Yeah, great question. Fear is a failure of faith. And I feel like in this world, we fear a lot of things, especially in business. We fear failing. We fear progressing sometimes. We really fear sometimes just, what are our business? What are we going to, like, how are my employees going to act? Are they going to show up? Are they going to do all these things? Like, am I going to have enough money to do all these things? And there's just, there's a lot of fear just in the economy right now. But as we realize that as fear holds us back, that faith is probably one of the greatest tools we have. Faith, faith in I honestly, faith in Jesus Christ is probably one of the greatest tools that we can use, because it brings us true happiness, not just happiness that's a fast fix, like, eating a good piece of meat, or, going off and go to, hanging out with your wife, or, being with your wife is great. Actually, that's a bad one, but, being
with your
You're
wife.
really trying to fire, man. I hear you.
Yeah, I know. So, but, having faith in Jesus Christ and as him as, really the cornerstone of your life, holding everything together, it really allows you to thrive and to put out those fears and find how it can be done. Failure will happen even with faith, but having faith that you can overcome failure is the tool, right? And I think as long as we have faith in the knowledge that moving forward, that we can overcome situations, even though they may be bad, even though that we may struggle, the Lord is there for us, and that's what's important.
Hey, I'm going to interrupt for a second because we've got a phenomenal opportunity for you. If you've been thinking about opening your own pressure washing company, I'd like to invite you to a free webinar. There we'll talk about the pros and cons of opening a pressure washing, and you'll get to chat with our team about whether or not you should launch a pressure washing company in your city or not. To register for this free event, go to pressurewashingpastor.com, scroll down to the little registration button, it's blue, and click on it, and we'll take care of the rest. I look forward to seeing you there. Have a great day. Now back to our show. Yeah, every business has to set up some principles, whether they want to set up those principles or not. You operate inside of certain philosophies or principles. One of ours is God is your business owner, or is our business owner. And so when you have a partnership with God, you can go to him and say, God, what do you want me to do in this situation? It means you can overcome any type of obstacle that comes your way. It's only when we replace God with ourselves as being the owner operator of the business that we run the risk of failure,
right?
And because we have nothing to lean on when things don't work, or we're not working the way that our heart and our minds want to. And so I love what you said. And basically it sounded like leaning towards, Jesus Christ being a part of your business, or what your strength and hope is found inside of. And so as we wrap up the show, Brady, Josiah, any final questions or anything that you've got? I feel like we just need to go give them a call and set up an affiliate relationship.
Yeah, no, I think that's pretty much it.
Yeah.
Use code Browns at the checkout. JK, but seriously, I do have a quick question for you, and this one's really serious.
Yeah.
Which typically means it's not, but what is your best smoking meat experience and your worst smoking of meat experience? Because I got a smoker. Well, it's a pellet grill, so I'm not like really doing the offset
that's
stuff.
entry level, but still there.
It's baby stuff, but it's good.
I do all mine on a pellet grill. So
That makes me feel so much better.
yeah.
What's your best smoke you've done and your worst that you've done?
Oh man, great question. Oh yeah. So here's the thing. I can honestly tell you with my worst. I'm gonna start with the worst smoke experience.
Let's go.
Right. So, for some reason, I cannot do great ribs. I have tried tons of times, and I just remember this one time. I smoked a brisket, and my buddy was smoking ribs, and we were just having a party one night. Right. So I brought the brisket. He brought the ribs. My wife gets the ribs, and she starts eating them. She's just like, "Oh my gosh! Like this is the most amazing thing." And, she just starts going off, and I'm like, Autumn, you're cheating on me. Like, I just feel so heartbroken. Like, I was devastated.
Cuts.
And so obviously I didn't smoke the ribs to make them bad, but it is the knowing that I can't do great ribs, and my wife loves ribs. And I don't know why I can't get past that point. And it's maybe I just need to do them a few hundred more times. But I don't know. We'll see.
Do you have a fear that they're not going to be good enough?
No, because I'm trying so many different ways. I try to do it the same way every time. So,
That's so
I don't know. And
I will share a quick story. The other day I went out to grill. It had been a few cooks since I cleaned out my little hopper. And if anybody's looked into pellet grills, you understand what I'm saying. But all of a sudden, my hopper started smoking. Have you ever had that happen? The fire was going backwards through the auger towards all of the wooden pellets. I was like, oh no.
See my new Traeger, it's down what actually happens is it clears it out automatically. I do it every 6 months though. So, but
how cool are you?
Yeah, I'm cool. Just kidding.
It doesn't sound like he's very happy for you. He sounds like he's got some envy.
So, and okay, best smoke experience. So, I make So like, for example, this weekend I did pulled pork. I do a lot of pulled pork. I love my pulled pork. I do a lot of beef ribs. Love beef ribs. The whole beef ribs, like the dinosaur ribs. I do a lot of those. But my favorite smoke experience, I've got to say, was, you ever heard of, so they're like pork belly burn ends, right?
Yeah.
I love them. I love pork belly. Pork belly is one of my favorite things to smoke and do a lot with. But I made a pork belly, and I cut them up and did everything. And I did this Asian smoke with it, and I caramelized them. And then I made bao buns, and then I made like a apple onion slaw, and I had these Asian pork belly slaw sandwiches. And it's probably one of the greatest things that I've ever smoked because it was so good. And it's just, they're simple too. It's not a huge smoke, it's not a long smoke. It's like a 4-hour smoke. So it's not like a super long one compared to like your briskets, what I'm at 20, 30 hours or 20 to 25 hours. So
throw a couple of those in with the bacon order.
Okay.
Unreasonable hospitality. Hey, Brant,
awesome.
You have been a joy to be around. I do believe you're going to have more work, hopefully, as a result of this podcast, YouTube. And so, if someone was interested in getting in touch with you, where should they go?
Yeah, if you go to our website, jillsoffice.com, there's a lot of different links that you can click on there to signing up, to getting a demo. You can even schedule there on the website to speak with one of our sales team members. So just go to the website and check us out, and we'd love to help you.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being on the show. And until next time,
Peace.